Hi, this is Kundan. Welcome to Conversations with Awakened Folks Living Regular Lives video series. My guest today is Rich Gavanelli. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Glad to be here.
thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
So, this will be a series of questions related to your awakening experiences and describing it, how you got there, and how you're applying it in your own life, in your daily life, and how it changed your life and how you're helping others
Okay.
through those experiences. So my first question would be, first question is, describe your first waking experience.
Okay. My first waking experience occurred shortly after reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. What I did was after reading Eckhart Tolle's book, I joined the Orange County Zen Center, and I began practicing Zen for a few months. And it was after I began practicing Zen and learning how to quiet my mind down that things really began to open up for me. I was able to experience a much deeper connection to my surroundings and my environment in direct proportion to how quiet I could keep my mind. That was probably one of the biggest key steps in becoming or having the first awakening experience, was learning how to quiet the mind chatter that I know I certainly have. And over time it began to diminish to the point where now I don't have a whole lot of mind chatter going on. Now it's mostly about my heart connection into the field that surrounds me. And how that ties into the awakening experience is as my heart began to open and become much more sensitized to my environment, I began to notice a deepening of my vision and a hypersensitivity to people, my pets, flowers, all kinds of different things in my environment. I just became so much more sensitized to. Till one day I was having a meditation. I've had so many experiences that they kind of all run together. But one in particular, I remember, I was sitting there having coffee, and this was shortly after meditating, and I just put the coffee cup in my hand, and I felt myself sort of step back away from my body. My consciousness slipped back into the background, and I began to experience myself as a separate consciousness from my body, and I was an total observer of my experience. And in that state, it was just like it's very difficult to describe the feeling, but it was like everything just opened up. Everything took on inner radiance. It's like if you've ever remember the old televisions where you could go off station a little bit and you can see the snow pattern on the screen. Well, in that state, everything had that sort of a snowy background appearance to it, and it took on a golden color. Everything began to have sort of a golden color to it. And it wasn't something you could see directly with your normal vision. I would say it was more my third eye being able to perceive this heightened sense of color and energy. And my heart just completely opened up. I just began to weep uncontrollably, and everything just sort of snapped into place. It was such a beautiful experience. It's like a, a veil was lifted from my vision, and I was finally able to see beyond my normal third dimension vision. It was really quite shocking.
Wow. That sounds really intense. That sounds amazing. Yeah.
It was intense. Not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. And I've had other similar experiences, which that's just like the real first basic little baby steps.
Mhm.
I've had ones since then which are almost indescribable in their beauty and just in the experience of having my heart just literally felt like it was my chest was just being pulled apart with the just like layers of crud, I guess. I don't know what else to describe it. Layers of old built-up energy. It just felt like it was being stripped away from my heart and from my mind. And it's just been an amazing couple of years.
Mm.
Well, it actually started back in 2008 when I finished The Power of Now.
Wow. And is there any other experience, awakening experience, that you wish to describe?
Well, there are, well, one of them, I was in a very deep meditation, and what I was shown was a membrane of where consciousness and spirit meet, and
Mm.
it's in that very fine layer where here is third dimensional reality, if you will, and there's like a membrane, and then there's spirit. And you can do it either way you want, but
Mhm.
that's just how it is with me. And what I could do was, in my meditative states, I can go below the state of physical reality and insert myself slightly in between the two states. And then after achieving that, then I can press fully into spirit. And in doing that, you're able to do so many other things. But it is in that state that I was shown that everything is okay. You know, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's no fear anymore. I'm no longer afraid of death. And since having these awakening experiences, I'm now a hospice volunteer, and I spend time with people who are in the process of passing. And I just have learned to become a being of unconditional love in that particular state, and in helping people in their final hours, just being a loving presence. And what I'm doing now is I'm incorporating being a loving presence into every waking moment. And the way that I'm doing that is through being very mindful of my perception of other people, because I've noticed that any time that I have a judgment about other people, my heart starts to close.
Mhm.
And in doing so, I know that I'm robbing myself of the love experience that I can have in communing with other people. And so as long as I can keep my mind in check, because that's where all the mistakes start, is in your mind. It's in your judgment, in your perception. And if I can keep my heart open and keep my mind clear and judgment free, I'm able to experience a oneness and a closeness with other people that is indescribable. And it's in that state that I really have these wonderful miracles of just absolute joy. It's just such a wonderful thing, and it all comes down to, you know, keeping your heart open and judgment free.
Wow, that's really great. You just answered like some of the questions I was about to ask, like
Mhm.
how you're applying it in your daily life, like how it
Mhm.
changed your life. So you said you started working in hospice. That
Yes.
sounds totally like a very fitting application of
Mm-hmm.
that awakening experience you had.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any other changes in your life?
Well, I tell you, I was clinically depressed from about 8 years old to just probably about the time I started having these awakening
Mhm.
experiences, and that I no longer have depression at all. But I have to, say that I also meditate twice a day, and I'm also a raw food vegan. Those are two things, or a few things that have really changed since my awakening process.
So you became a meditator and a raw food vegan because of
Right.
your awakening experience.
Right, because I
Okay.
wanted to deepen my connection with my heart.
Okay. Tell me more about that. How it relates, like how.
Well, there's a couple of things in there that I'd like to address. The one of them is in in being a Buddhist, I have learned to realize how fleeting our experiences are here. And by doing hospice work, I'm able to, I'm forced into an awareness of how much I have to be thankful for. That is one of the key aspects of awakening, I think, is being very grateful for what you have. And doing the hospice work shows me how much I still have in my life and how much I have to be thankful for. And that's one aspect of hospice work that I find very rewarding. The other part is in working with working with hospice patients, you have to show up and you have to check your ego at the door. And by doing these acts of selflessness, where you have to show up 150% for the other person and be an absolute unconditionally loving presence, it destroys the ego. It absolutely decimates it. And by doing so, you're able to clear your mind of a lot of ego buildup. You're able to open your heart to new depths, which I don't think I could have ever experienced had I not done this practice. It's a lot, it's very similar to what, the Buddhists used to do, about where they would sit and meditate in a morgue or a graveyard, in order so that they would become aware of their own sense of mortality. If you don't have a good sense of your own mortality, you're just sort of, it feels like you're kind of just spinning your wheels. I know that's kind of how it was for me.
Okay. How would you personally define the awakening experience? Like, I have my own definition of it, but like, I would like to know like what yours is. You describe the actual experience itself, but if you were to like define it to the public who doesn't really,
Right.
is not really familiar.
For me, I believe that the awakening experience it's where you learn how to shut the mind down, where you're no longer having all these obsessive thoughts about, do they like me, do they not like me, am I good enough, and all this stuff. A lot of the self-defeating mind talk is eliminated, and you begin to recognize yourself as a spirit who has a body. And for me, I stopped associating with my body. I have one, but that's not who I am. I've also given up most of my attachments to physical things, certainly to money, power, prestige, I, you know, earning money and stuff like that. It's not what we're here for. For me, what we're here for is to learn how to love one another unconditionally. And you do that not by comparing, you know, houses and cars and things like that. You do that through the elimination of judgment and the constant extension of your heart in a loving way to other people. It's like awakening and enlightenment is not a transformation. It's a remembering of the oneness that we have with one another. It's, I would say that's probably the closest I can describe what the awakening process is.
Okay.
A lot of it has to do with forgetting and letting go of the way we're used to dealing with the world. It's like the world is
Mhm.
180 degrees
Mhm.
out of sync with reality,
Mhm.
true reality. And it's up to us to, you know, extend our hearts to our fellow human beings, and especially to the creatures like the animals and things
Mhm.
like that, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why another reason why I don't eat animals anymore, or I don't eat any dairy products at all.
Is it because you feel the oneness with them and their suffering?
I do, and I really don't think it's a good idea for one species to dominate another species in order for it to eat. And you know, I know that happens in the natural world, you
Mhm.
know, but for me, I don't think that we need to be eating other animals. I mean, I certainly don't.
Mhm.
And you know, the way that we treat animals is very unfortunate and a very unenlightened approach. Farm factories and things like that I think are absolutely horrific. I think it's nothing short of what, you know, Hitler did to the
Mhm.
Jews. It's just on a different, it's just interspecies rather than same species.
Okay.
So anyway, I don't want to get on that.
So if somebody came to you that is suffering,
Mhm.
the position that you were in 8 years ago,
Mhm.
what would you tell that person? How would you help them?
Oh, that's actually pretty straightforward.
Mhm.
One of the things is that I would tell them to start meditating,
Mhm.
and I would have them start taking their own inventory, start looking at where they were having withholds of love from other people, where they were, you know, being competitive unnecessarily. Um, if a particular situation, oh, this is a perfect, here's a good example. If somebody is doing something that irritates you,
Mhm.
they're not irritating you, you're irritating yourself.
Mhm.
And I've really, this one particular thing has helped me so much, is by recognizing that people aren't irritating me, I'm irritating myself. And it's showing me where my judgments are and where I have blocked energy in my heart. And by being very mindful of the things that irritate me, I know where I'm stuck. And by releasing that energy through love and meditation, and by blessing the person in my mind quietly for showing me where I'm stuck, I'm able to transcend that.
Mhm.
And I'm able to have completely harmonious relationships, you know, certainly not perfect, but
Mhm.
greatly improved.
Mhm. That's a that's a nice segue to my next question. Like, do you still get triggered? And if you do, how do you deal with that? Like,
Oh yeah, it's funny, I have a little game that I play with my mom.
uh-huh.
She is probably one of my best spiritual teachers because I've known her the longest of anybody
Mhm.
on the planet, and she certainly knows how to push my buttons. So the little game that we have is that if in the course of normal things, I get upset or pissed off, I have to pay her $20.
Oh.
And so it's not out of, it's not a punishment or anything like
Mhm.
that. It's a thank you
Mm.
for showing me where I'm stuck and where I need to grow spiritually.
Okay. And that's a great segue into my next question too. Um, since the holidays are coming up,
Mm.
how do you deal with family during the holidays? Like not just with your mom, but with
Yeah.
your other siblings or like dad or parents. Or,
Let's see. I just, what I try and do is just, as I always have, is since awakening is just to keep an open heart and to be extremely mindful of my perceptions of other people, and to be hyper vigilant about being judgmental.
mm,
That it's like it's like they say, don't judge other people, otherwise you'll be judged. And it's so true, because you're not really judging other people, you're judging yourself. It shows you where you are stuck.
Mhm.
As soon as you judge another person, it shows you where you're stuck.
mm,
It's like in religion. When one religion condemns another, it says more about the religion that is condemning the other than the religion that is being condemned.
mhm.
Same thing with human relations. Same thing.
Okay, awesome. So what's your next step? What's your vision for a better world?
My vision for a better world, I tell you, it's going to have to be where we're no longer seeking power. We can't have corporations that are solely after profit. There has to be balance. And, corporations aren't people.
Mm,
We have to have balance. And we have to have, first and foremost, a respect for the environment and a respect for other living creatures that must supersede all profiting.
mm,
I think if we can just do that one thing, if it hurts the environment, you're not allowed to do it. If you make a mess, you got to clean it up. And
mhm.
the company that made the mess has to clean it up, not the taxpayers and not anybody else.
Okay, awesome. Is there any question that I didn't ask that you wanted me to ask?
No, I think that was about it.
That was about it.
All right.
Well, thank you for being here.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. So this has been Conversations with Awakened Folks Living Regular Lives. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.